Good morning and happy 4th. Welcome to another episode of Gargana Hill. In today's episode, we're going to talk about Ichiban Japanese eggplants. So this is an Asian variety in my garden that has produced a bountiful fruit this year, and I want to share to you how I started these eggplants and how are they doing currently. So let's go and take a look at these Japanese eggplants. It's 9 a.m. here at Zone 7B, Atlanta, Georgia area. Around 80 degrees right now. We'll probably hit around 91, 92 today. So it'll be hot. The first thing you want to take note of is your eggplants would need to be in full sun and would need to be subjected into heat. So in this garden, they are the first, second rows there and the third row here. The fourth row is actually the Rosa Bianca eggplant, which has that round fruit. So I'll be talking about the Ichiban ones that have the longer fruit. I'll zoom into it later, but basically they probably get around 5 hours to 6 hours of sun here in this area. As you can see, my sun comes up from there and then sets, of course, the opposite direction. But basically in the morning they get some shade. Throughout the afternoon they do get some full sun. So I'll look into it closer so you can see how I planted them closely. They are pretty much 24 inches apart right now, and they are on a plastic mulch system. So from this view, you can see 24 inches on center in between the eggplants, and that's what I advise. It's a good distance to kind of keep. You also want to start with a good compost. So when I started these, I had biotone or plant tone when I planted the plants, and also already have the stake in it. So it's going to grow about 2 to 3 foot tall. So you may want to have a stake that's 4 foot tall and start the stake as you start the plants so you don't hurt the roots later on. So in my case, this is the first row of Japanese eggplants, second row, and then the third row. I water them about once a week due to the plastic mulch that I have. It does keep good heat during the shade, and it keeps water retention and fertilizer retention in there, so it helps. It may vary depending on how you treat your raised beds or if you're planting directly on the ground. But in my case, I have a raised bed with plastic mulch. Just water once a week, and the way you know if you need to water is if you put your finger in a hole and you pull up. In this case, if I pull up and then soil still sticks in your fingers, it's still a good sign that it's moist and you don't need to water it. So in this case, I'm not going to water it, but pretty much, as soon as soil doesn't stick into your hands and you don't feel moist water under, you may want to start watering. So just to give you an idea how much fruit we get from one plant, we've been harvesting, but look at this. So I probably have around 12 eggplants that are ready to harvest in this plant, and then of course given more with these flowers. As you can see, I can go through each and every eggplant. I'll just go quickly here. And some of them have been harvested, but there is a ton of eggplants around me. So this breed or this variety right here does have a lot of fruit. If you like eggplants, I suggest it's the perfect eggplant to grow because it's easy and it bears a lot of fruit. Like, look at that. So we've been picking this, but it still produces a lot of eggplants, and it's still producing more. As you'll notice, I go down to this eye level. I do prune the eggplants heavily, probably about 8 inches high when I start it, so it doesn't carry the disease up to the top of the plant, and it promotes more fruit production. But then after that, I would not prune the ones that branch off higher because these would be my flowering branches. So that's how pretty much I take care of pruning. Now fertilizing, I said earlier, start with biotone as you plant it, or plant tone. 15 days, every 15 days I would fertilize with a liquid fertilizer or your choice of organic blood meal for nitrogen or bone meal for your phosphorus and phosphate. So as soon as I have more branches and more leaves, I'll stop putting nitrogen and I'll start adding more phosphorus and phosphate. So you can see the leaves are extremely healthy and extremely big on these Japanese eggplants. Not a lot of flea beetle damage because I'm very particular on trying to prune to keep pests out and then spray when I see flea beetles. So the secret to having good eggplants is also managing the amount of flea beetles that you have in your Japanese eggplants. But pretty much those are the secrets for growing Japanese eggplant that worked in my area. As you can see, I'm gonna do another pass on these fruits and they are just performing. Like, look how big this one is. So it says on literature that you can grow them up to 10 inches. You can also eat them at 3 inches. So these are both ready. I prefer the bigger ones just because I like grilling them. And of course, you can always get them any bigger if you need seeds the next year. This would be the perfect eggplant to grow. So that is it. That is my video for today. Japanese eggplants. Ichiban Japanese eggplants. You may want to give them a try.